mute myself too. It's
okay. Well, welcome back to the Show Me Show podcast for episode 41. We got a little bit of pre-talk there with Cam, but welcome back. Episode 41. It's going to be a big one. We got MLB free agent talk. The Cardinals made a big signing. We'll start off with that. Then we got our rundown of week 13, I believe. I can't believe I'm saying that. It's already week 13 in the NFL. So we'll do our rundown, talk about some of the big games. Then, of course, we got our fantasy corner, a few questions, our stardom, sit-ems, and sleepers. And then we'll wrap it up with our week 14 picks and preview. Hopefully to, keep on the roll. We've been on the roll lately here with these picks. So let's get into it. All right. Had to do it.
hashtag not my intro.
I know we need the real intro back.
I missed the little shitbox intro. That's perfect for the show.
From the very first episode, we were just screwing around. I do miss that too. So anyways, MLB free agency, it's picked up recently. We haven't had a free agency like this in years. Like it's always been pushed off to like February, except for last year, I guess, because of the blackout.
Like, let's get this in before everybody goes away.
Exactly. And so a lot of people like mass signed before, but here at the winter meetings, there's been a lot of shit that's got done. So the Cardinals made a big signing, as we actually talked about quite a bit, that it was so obvious it was going to happen, and we snagged Wilson Contreras away from the Cubs. $17.5 million per year for 5 years. Big signing. Some of the other ones, Judge signed for 9 years, $360 million. That's $40 million a year, so he made a bag. And Xander Bogaerts, late last night, I should say, signed with the Padres for 11 years. It reminds me of the Pujols deal, but 11 years, $280 million, I do believe it was. What were some of the other big? Those were the big ones for sure. Brandon Nimmo just signed earlier today for 8 years, $160 million. Yeah, Verlander, 2 years, $86 million. He's making $43 million a year as a 39-year-old. So that's pretty insane. The Mets and Yankees making moves. Like what do we got new? Oh, and of course, the biggest one maybe, Trey Turner to the Phillies for $300 million in 10 years.
Oh my God, Luke!
I mean,
oh no, we will be 30 when that contract is up. Holy moly! That is weird to think about.
Hey, the Bogaerts one will be 31, and when the Bogaerts one is up, so. How about that? And Bogaerts is older.
I hope those contracts don't fill out like that. I hope they leave at some point just so I don't have to think about that.
100%. The Bogaerts one will 100% turn out to be like a Chris Davis one. Where just like the last 4 years, he's just like on the injured list, and they're just like,
Crush Davis.
Just retire, man. Crush Davis. He was good for a while.
He was.
So these guys are making
the home run derby. So
that year when he just hit like 50 home runs, and then he went away for 50 or something like that.
Wild. Yeah, I remember that weird streak. But so, question here, number one. I may have a dead baseball brain since it's been a while, but doesn't Tatis play shortstop?
Supposedly, but I mean, he doesn't really play right now. I mean, that's kind of the thing that the Padres have figured out, that he's either injured or he's, getting suspended. So, but I do believe that their long-term plan for him was he's out for about
180.
No, it wasn't that long. I think the first suspension is 80 games, and then if you get caught a second time, then it's like 162. It's a full season. So he was just the 80. I think he's got maybe half of it left to start off this year. But I do believe the Padres' long-term plans for him was to move him to the outfield, either left field or right field. So him and Soto would pick up the corners in the outfield. And then their team's just full of shortstops. They got Tatis, they got Bogarts now. They have Kim, who played shortstop for them. Ha-Sung Kim played really well last year. And then they also got Jake Cronenworth, who I guess he's played a lot of second with them, but he's technically a shortstop as well. So it's just very weird to see all these shortstops going to one team. But
they might
never have enough.
After the Bogart signing, they might have the most big names now over the Dodgers.
I would say definitely over the Dodgers, because the Dodgers
they have the most faces of baseball. Think about that, more than one.
Yeah, I don't know if like a lot of non-baseball fans like Bogarts. I mean, he's a big name, but is he really that big of a name? Like, obviously,
I would say he is. As a part-time, partial, yeah. I don't even know if I consider myself casual fan of baseball. I feel like it's a little bit below. I very much know who Xander Bogaerts is. I mean, geez, Xander, Tatis, Machado, Soto. Soto might, he's probably the best. Oh, well, Machado last year was pretty good.
Josh Hader.
He's
a big one out of the pen.
He mended his wounds.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, the Dodgers, they got Freddie Freeman, they got Mookie Betts, Clayton Kershaw. I'm trying to think of some of the other big-time names that they have. Those are their big three.
Yeah,
after they lost Trey Turner.
Yeah.
I mean, they also have Will Smith at catcher. He's a beast, but not a lot of non-baseball fans know that is. But
they have good pitching, though. That's another thing. Dodgers just have really good pitching too.
Yeah. They're really good at like signing like a mid-tier like starting pitcher for like 1 year, $6 million, and then he
wins 16 games.
Yeah, exactly. Like Tyler Anderson last year. I could totally see a guy like Dylan
Goss,
who played for the Twins last year. Who?
I can't remember how to say his full name. I think is it Gosselin? Dawson? Yeah.
Yeah. He was a homegrown guy. They didn't sign him though.
Okay.
But I could totally see a guy like Dylan Bundy, who played for the Twins and last year and the Angels previously. Never really been good in his career. Totally see him signing like 1 year, $6 million with the Dodgers, and then just having like a sub 350 ERA, 15 wins, just being a beast. That's just what they do. But I'm surprised that the Dodgers haven't really been involved in this free agency yet. I mean, we've seen like the Yankees, the Mets, and the Padres, who have recently been big spenders. The Yankees and Mets obviously historically been big spenders, but the Dodgers, we always complain about the Dodgers like signing whoever they want, but this year they really haven't been active. They just re-signed Kershaw and that was it. So that's kind of a surprise. It's very weird.
Have the Yankees signed anybody else besides Judge?
We'll probably sign a pitcher. Like
I know, but I don't think they have yet. The offseason just started, but I don't think they have yet. I mean, their main goal was to just bring back Judge. So,
yeah,
and they got him.
That was their main goal, and they succeeded in that. So, yeah, that was a scare there, especially when John Heyman tweeted out Arson Judge appears to be headed to the San Francisco Giants, and then 5 minutes later he goes, "Oh, I apologize. I'm being told that he's not." And then the next morning, of course, he officially announces he signs with the Yankees. Yeah, and that's a common like we make fun of Bob Nightingale a lot for his spelling errors. But I feel like Bob Nightingale, he's like the sweet old man. You just don't mess with him. You laugh at him, but you love him at the same time. Like John Heyman, he's the one that everyone hates. Like you look at, it's like that one here verbal meme. John Heyman tweets Arson Judge, broke ass, and then Bob Nightingale tweets Arson Judge, and it's strong and independent. Like that's the best way I can compare those two. But we here at the MLB Twitter, we don't like John Heyman, so very very pleased to see him get that wrong. Very funny.
You'll have to bring me back down memory lane here, but there was a Bob Nightingale tweet, I think. Was it this? It might have been during this last season, or maybe it was during the lockout that was like an all-time Bob Nightingale tweet that was just like out of this world, just so bad. Like it was just wrong, completely wrong. I think it might have been that the lockout was ending. I can't remember what it was about. What was it?
That's a good. I can't remember either, but I know exactly what you're talking about. That was this past year, and it had something to do with the lockout, I think. So very funny, but
I remember laughing about it a lot. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure we talked about it on this show. But
yeah, I think so.
One of the earlier episodes.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the Cardinals make a big move with Contreras. We knew they were going to go after a catcher. I truly believed in the last final days that it was going to be Sean Murphy, but after we signed Contreras, we obviously don't need him anymore. So then the offer came out what the A's wanted. The A's wanted Lars Nootbaar, Brendan Donovan, and Gordon Graceffa, who's one of our best pitching prospects. So even if it was just Donovan and Nootbaar for Murphy, I don't think I would have done it because I love both of those guys. So I think they are going to be really good players. Donovan obviously just won a Gold Glove. So I respect the move. John Mozeliak, the trade maestro, as you will, saw that offer and he tried to talk the A's into it. Like, hey, how about I try to fleece you a little bit more than that instead of you fleecing me? And the A's wouldn't budge. I respect them. And he's like, all right, I'll just go out and sign the catcher that wants to be here anyway. So I respect that. Hopefully this turns out well. Mozeliak does not have a great history of signing free agents, so that does make me a little bit worried. However, Contreras has been a very good player. And I guess the biggest trend to look out for is he does wear down typically towards the end of the year. So the first half of the year, I would imagine he's pretty good. He's playing almost every day. And then in the second half, his production starts to fall off a little bit. Him and Kisner probably split catching a little bit more throughout the second half. That's what I would imagine happens. But still a good sign. I mean, you got him at $17.5 million per year. So, I mean, that's really good value for one of the best catchers in the game. And you get the added fact that he's from Chicago. So we kind of get payback for what they did with Jason Hayward. Even though the Cubs have been active in their free agent market too. The Cubs signed Cody Bellinger to a 1-year deal, which I don't think that's a bad deal at all for them. And then they also signed a pitcher, Jamison Tyone, from the Yankees. It was a indifferent signing, I think, but still some big names on the free agent market. I think the Cardinals might be done in the free agent market this year, I would imagine, other than maybe like a guy who's worth like $3 million, like a very small signing, minute difference. I wouldn't be surprised if we are active in the starting pitcher trade market, though. Who we're going after, I have no idea, but that's probably the next move I would imagine for this front office. And Arenado, because Arenado's a part of the front office now, apparently. So
he's like LeBron, but MLB style, which I respect.
Yeah.
Except LeBron, he's not afraid of the lights in the playoffs. No offense to Arenado.
No offense.
But another question here. I think you said this at the beginning of the show, but where did Swanson land? He just landed today, didn't he? Dansby?
No,
yeah.
He has not signed anywhere yet.
I thought he just signed
Swanson
today.
and Correa. I don't think so, unless I'm tripping. I don't remember.
Hold on. Let me.
I feel like I would have remembered that. Where did he sign with?
I don't know. I thought he did today, like within the last hour.
Mm-hmm. That was probably Nimmo you're thinking of, but
okay.
So Swanson is still out there.
Yet. Yeah, he's still out there.
Carlos Correa is still out there. I would imagine that I think the Cubs are active on both of them. In my opinion, Dansby Swanson looked great in the Cubs uniform, and that's a compliment because I don't think a lot of people do. Like Cody Bellinger is going to look weird in the Cubs uniform, but Swanson, I feel like it would fit well. The Yankees, for a minute, I thought were going to be active in the shortstop market, but it appears not. And then also a tough scene for LA that they're not going after Carlos Correa because their fans would not approve of the signing. So that's kind of funny at the same time because he was on the Astros, of course, that beat them, the cheating Astros. So very funny. But that's free agent talk unless you have anything else to add, Cam. Would imagine
No.
we're following up with this next week.
There's a good possibility that I'll just shoot a question in. We could be talking about the NFL and there might be an MLB question in there, but we'll see. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
Yeah. It's been a few weeks since MLB talk. It's been dead since the World Series. So other than the awards when Goldschmidt won the MVP, but other than that, pretty dead. And then recently winter meetings. Like I'll talk about that later, but
yeah.
It's now time for the Week 13 rundown. And, this was after Thanksgiving, you really start to realize how little football we have left. After the big Thanksgiving week, you're looking and you're like, man, we only got, I'm looking now. We have 5 weeks of football left. The Packers have 4 games. That's it. And then we're done for the year. I mean, you got the playoffs, but comes very quick.
December is quite possibly it's my favorite month of football. And I love NFL playoff football, but December is my favorite month of football because technically you get the conference championships. You get the conference championships, and then you get bowl season, which I love because it is just stupid chaos bowl games. Crazy, weird, sicko trophies that are just so random. Crazy bowl names in games every year, and ones that stick, bowl games that stick, like Mizzou's in the Gasparilla Bowl. The Gasparilla Bowl has been going on for a while, but I'll be honest, Luke, I don't know what Gasparilla is in terms of the business, but it's still
pretty sure it's a company.
Well, yeah, I know.
Do you remember the yeah. But yeah, it's the company that just sticks for a while. Also, a shout out to the Orange Bowl for I think this might be the first time in history this has occurred. But 2 orange teams, Clemson and Tennessee. It's like the ultimate battle. I think I saw something like the loser of that game should not be allowed to wear orange next year in their uniforms. And I agree, honestly. If you can't if you're not the best orange, you shouldn't be able to wear it. There should be one orange, clear orange, and that's it.
Obi has his work cut out for him. Obi's the orange that just roams the sidelines in that game. The giant fat orange. He's probably related to Otto, the Syracuse orange. If I had to guess, but yeah, Obi and Otto probably related, but
yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I cousins.
So you have bowl games. You have the most important and intense NFL season weeks coming up this month. And NFL is completely taken over the holidays in terms of Christmas. I mean, Christmas used to be like, you get like maybe one NFL game on the Saturdays before, and then obviously Sunday they'll play no matter what. But it was kind of like the NBA's thing for probably like 4 or 5 years until as of late. And now it's just the NFL just owns it. And then, like I said, you still have your Christmas. There's probably a bowl game on Christmas. Usually I think there's like one either on Christmas or Christmas Eve. And then you have your New Year's bowl game.
I doubt it this year because Christmas is on a Sunday this year, so I doubt they have a bowl game.
Oh, true. Yeah, but they just have them freaking randomly. Like the weird bowls, like the Bahamas Bowl, I'm pretty sure is probably like on a Tuesday during the day, probably.
The Bahamas Bowl is the first one, isn't it?
Usually.
Bahamas Bowl is Friday. Friday at 10:30. Next Friday, by the way.
Perfect.
For all the sickos out there. And then there's no game on Christmas, but there is the Hawaii Bowl between Middle Tennessee State and San Diego State takes place on Christmas Eve at 7:00. So
exactly. And then, of course, you get my favorite bowl game during the bowl season, the Rose Bowl. Last year it was just perfect. I don't know if you were able to watch that. It just the colors and the scenery. I just love the Rose Bowl. panning around the stadium, not even watching the game some of the time, just looking at the mountains and the beautiful sunset. So love bowl season. Love the NFL at this time of year. Also, I guess you have the Heisman ceremony coming up. They announced a bunch of the awards today. Maybe we'll get to that at the end of the show if we have any time. But but we're gonna go ahead and get into the rundown. But yes,
personally, because I'm a sicko, my favorite bowl is the Duke's Mayo Bowl. But I'm a sicko.
I hate it. I hate the Duke's Mayo Bowl after last year. I can't even begin to tell you.
I'm sorry.
Like I said, maybe we'll get in some college football talk at the end of the show, hopefully if we have any time. But last year, I think it was December 28th, I think was the day of our bowl game. North Carolina, South Carolina, 10 a.m., not even the regular 11 a.m. kick. 10 a.m. kick in Charlotte for the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Whoever wins gets doused in mayo. I'm hoping I get to see Coach Mac Brown's fat, old, doused in mayo, but no, I didn't. And it was just the worst North Carolina game you've ever seen. Sending out Sam Howell like that was just horrible. And it was at 10 a.m., so the rest of the day was just absolutely sour. It was so bad.
That sucks.
In North Carolina, they are not a good team right now. And like I said, maybe we'll get to talk about the transfer portal at the end of the show, but it is chaos. There's like 1,500 players in the portal right now. Bunch of North Carolina's players are in. It's bigger than free agency. A lot worse, too. You can't even track it. It is crazy.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm just sitting here assuming that every single player is in the transfer portal. That's how I'm going to look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to assume that there's no returning players on any of my teams because it's just easier.
Although,
and then if there is returning players, you're like, oh.
My favorite Arizona Wildcat, Jacob Cowing, is coming back. So
yes,
there you go.
True. Very big news there. And then, all right, you want to get into the rundown? You're starting off this weekend.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. Rundown week 13 NFL. We start off in the Dome in Atlanta. The Falcons basically played the same game 2 weeks in a row. Just this time it was against the Steelers. Kenny Pickett continues his breakout, and Mike Tomlin refuses to be bugged when he is on the clock and working. Mariota is not him and doesn't have a clutch gene, and the Steelers hold on to win 19-16 in the ATL.
Next, we head up to Minnesota, where two playoff teams battled. The legend of Kirko Chains is spreading onto the youth as young Minnesotans are dressing up as him now. Alexander Mattison and the Vikings twerked their way to an early lead, and the Jets' offense turned into the Broncos every time they were in the red zone, kicking 5 field goals to start off the game. The Vikings were able to hold on to this one 27-22 and get their 10th win of the season.
Wow. We head south to Chicago, where the NFL's oldest rivalry took place, tied for the most all-time wins in NFL history. This was set to be a dogfight, and it was. Despite an early 2-score lead, Aaron Rodgers let Christian Watson get joint ownership of the Bears and their fans. Packers salute Kanye West style into a 28-19 win over the Bears to become the winningest franchise in NFL history.
Positive stuff there. Next, we head to yet another NFC North stadium, this time in Detroit, where the Next Up Bowl took place in honor of the bowl season being announced. The Lions got up early on the Jags and never looked back, running and twisting legs to a blowout win 40-14 and stay alive in the NFC wildcard race.
Rams touchdown. Now we head up to Philly, where the first major revenge game of the week took place between A.J. Brown and the Titans. And A.J. Brown won this one, going for 100 yards and 2 tutties. Jalen Hurts helped in the burial, going for 4 total touchdowns, 380 passing yards. And the Eagles continue to roll with a 35-10 blowout win over the Tits.
We head to Maryland, where the Broncos and Ravens game, it happened, to say the least. Lamar got hurt early, and that was all it took to craft a recipe for a bad and boring game. Tyler Huntley led a game-winning drive in the final minutes to sneak a 10-9 win in for the Ravens.
Disgusting game. Now we go down south to Houston, Texas, where our second revenge game of the week took place between the Texans and the Weirdo. Since Deshaun Watson can no longer assault anyone in Houston, the Browns' defense and special teams did the job for him, combining for 3 touchdowns. And that's all it took to take down the lowly Texans, and the Browns roll to a 27-14 win in the return of the pedophile? The Jetophile? What does that say?
Yeah, I was trying to make a Star Wars reference like Return of the Jedi, and that was the closest I could come up with. So
that's throwing Jedi under the bus. I don't like that. Jedi would never.
You're right. I'm sorry. All right. Our final game of the early slate was a feisty NFC East matchup between the Giants and the Commanders. This game was back and forth, and each team refused to go away, ultimately leading to a 10-minute overtime. With both offenses out of gas, the teams were content with a tie. And for the first time in 25 years, an NFC East battle ends in an even score, 20-20.
Beautiful game. Now we head to the afternoon side of this great slate of football with an NFC West matchup. Despite being dead for weeks, the Rams showed some life, fighting back and forth with the Birds of Seattle. Geno and the boys were able to gut this one out, though, 27-23, and move back into a playoff spot.
Now we head to San Francisco for yet another revenge game, this time for Mike McDaniel and his band of running backs, Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. That path looked a lot easier after our sweet, handsome prince, Jimmy Garoppolo, hurt his foot and was carted to the locker room. But that made way for BCB, Brock Purdy, and he ended up playing pretty good, running up the score for the first-place Dolphins. Kyle Shanahan is still the master over Mike, and the Niners win 33-17.
In another West battle between the Chargers and the Raiders, this game took a backseat to some of the other great games going on, but it was still a good one. Justin Herbert channeled his inner Phillip Rivers, trying to lead the Chargers down the field for a game-tying drive, but was unsuccessful. The Raiders are making a late push to the playoffs, but unfortunately it might be too little too late. Regardless, they win this one 27-20, Luke.
They're winning right now, too. So
yes, they are.
And finally, after all that, we arrive at the game of the week and yet another revenge game. The Chiefs look to avenge their AFC Championship loss by going on the road to Cincinnati. The Bengals defense held strong against the mighty Patrick Mahomes and virtually eliminated Travis Kelce from being a factor in this game, holding him to 0 touches in the first half and forcing a fumble on him in the second. After a strong fourth quarter finish, the Bengals once again continue their reign over the Chiefs, winning 27-24, and Joe Burrow owns Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, but let's not forget about the GOAT, Luke. As we were blessed with a beautiful NFC South matchup between the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at Raymond James Stadium for Monday Night Football. And Tom Brady's usual woes against the Saints defense were apparent early on, throwing an interception to the playmaking middle linebacker Demario Davis. The Buccaneers offense looked dead, but in a touching tribute to our dear friend Jesus Christ, after 3 quarters, the Buccaneers got past the stone that was the Saints defense and rose from the dead as Tom Brady threw a touchdown to Cade Otton. You're glad you stayed up to watch the rest of this game. Tom Brady was then able to lead another fourth-quarter game-winning drive and touchdown pass to Rachaad White to seal the nail in the coffin with just 8 ticks remaining. Buccaneers win a close one at home, 17-16 to round out your Week 13 football slate. And that's the rundown.
That was just a fantastic slate.
It was.
Fantastic slate of games.
It really was.
A really good job. Yeah. I feel like we did a good job of recapping them. Just getting some of the main points out, what took place in every game. Is there any games that you want to talk more in depth about?
I think,
or any headlines?
I think obviously a couple headlines you kind of highlighted through the revenge games, but I think one of the major ones to look at is that Bengals-Chiefs game. I mean, you're absolutely right.
You're welcome.
The Bengals, thank you. The Bengals, you're absolutely right. They held Travis Kelce to pretty much nothing. And, they caused him to make a huge mistake with the fumble. And, Joe Burrow, hell, man, I've watching him at LSU his junior and senior year, to now with his time in the NFL as well. I mean, he's a comeback kid. He really is. So they were down in this one, and, he was able to, they didn't have to come very far from behind, but, he still rallied for that last score, that go-ahead score. But
sorry, Deshaun Watson reference.
Yeah. But, you're right. He's 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes, which is crazy. Literally whenever I see there's no quarterback, even after they won this game, you throw Patrick Mahomes into battle with any quarterback, and I'm just thinking that Patrick's winning no matter what. But the Bengals kind of have their number a little bit. I don't know what it is, but
yeah.
And it's not like they're the Patrick Mahomes and Chiefs stoppers. I mean, they still give up points to them, but they just find ways to win every single time against them. Yeah, they do. They have a formula.
And honestly, I think it might have to do with the Travis Kelce part. We mentioned that stopping Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce is one half of Patrick Mahomes' greatness. Patrick Mahomes is great, but if Travis Kelce didn't exist, I don't think we'd be talking about Mahomes as potentially being the greatest of all time. We'd be talking about him like in Justin Herbert style, really good, bright future, but not like in Travis Kelce is that he's the glue in the Patrick Mahomes thing, and taking him out of that game, just virtually stopping him, preventing him from getting touches. That's a huge part of, I think, the Chiefs' plan. And yeah, Patrick Mahomes is still going to Mahomes. He's going to get touchdowns to other guys, but something about just that, maybe it takes a little bit of life out of the Chiefs. I don't know, but yeah, it's interesting. The fans in Cincinnati were rocking, and game of the week for sure. It was a great game.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they might not be the complete total Chiefs stoppers, but they are the Kels stoppers. What a punt by their Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee, Mr. Cole from the Raiders. Got him down to the 3-yard line, I think, there. But I don't even know how they do it. It's not like they have great secondary play. It's not like they had, although they have been playing better this year. It's not like they have great linebackers, like all-world linebackers. They don't even have all-world defensive line this year. They have Sam Hubbard and a couple other guys, but that's really about it. So I don't know what they're doing. But you know what? Credit to Lucas Newhouse a couple of weeks ago, looking at the schedule and just being like, they might lose this one, but then they're just going to win the rest of their games and get into the playoffs. And right now it's looking good.
I saw the Chiefs game. I saw that game, and last week I picked it. I was so confident in that upset, and I don't know why. I knew that the Bengals owned them. The Bengals are a second-half team. They get hot. And the Chiefs just here and there have slip-ups. And now, before you even know it, with the Dolphins and Chiefs losing, the Bills are back to the 1 seed in the AFC. So,
yep. And you know what, Luke? That's probably for, at the end of the day, what do you think? I mean, at the end of the day, I think the Bills are the best football team right now. I think they are. I think they're probably the most complete team. But you also can never go wrong when you give the Chiefs the 1 seed if that's how it ends up going. But I think, at the end of the day, the Chiefs have the best football team. That doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl because it's who NFL, in fact, me and my dad were talking about this today. The NFL and MLB, those are the two sports especially, and actually hockey, I guess you could say as well. Hockey, MLB, and NFL, in terms of playoffs, it's whoever's playing the best.
Yes.
At
you
the
get
end
in,
of the
that's
season.
all that matters.
Yep. Those are the teams that win, or the
in.
teams that are playing the best. College football, we were talking about, it's more about who has the best team in terms of, and not who's playing the best because that's just how it is. And even the NBA, usually it's the best team that wins the NBA championship, not who's playing the best. It's just, I don't know. It's just different for the NFL, MLB, and NHL. But
oh yeah, but I mean, especially like historically, I guess the NHL's been that way, but you're really starting to see it now with the NFL and the MLB. Like teams like the Phillies, for example, like this past year, they're not the best team by any means. There were 4 teams in the National League that were better than the Phillies. It didn't matter. The Phillies came out on top because they were hot. That's just how it is, and that's why you can't really look at the NFL and safely say this team's going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah, the Bills are probably the best team, but anything can happen. It's one game. That's all that matters.
Yep.
And personally, I wouldn't mind if we ended up with the Titans as the 1 seed again, just so that we had just one less week of watching them in the playoffs because they're tough.
They're
to watch.
bad on offense right now. But yeah, I mean, the best teams in the NFL that are playing the best down the stretch usually get the farthest. And like I said, that just, it doesn't really happen like that in the NBA. You may see like a 7 seed maybe pull off an upset here and there. But think about how many like 7 and 6 seeds in the NFL beat, 2s and 3s and stuff like that. That happens year in and year out. And then think of how many wild card teams in the MLB go on stretch runs. Hell, the Cardinals have. Some of their best postseason runs have been due to their wild card runs. So, that literally happens all the time in the MLB. It is constant. And you just don't really see that very often in like the NBA.
Nationals a few years ago.
Yeah. Maybe the best chance was probably the Pelicans last year, almost taking out the Suns, but that didn't happen. But yeah, that's besides the point.
They weakened them though.
Bungles, they're pretty damn good, and they're probably going to be pretty damn good down the stretch. So that's that.
Yep.
Chargers.
Just one quick note that we didn't mention. The A.J. Brown revenge game was awesome to watch. And then literally the very next day, the Titans fired their GM, the one who traded away A.J. Brown. So that was really funny. But that's all I had on that.
We might be in the mix of a Baker Mayfield game-winning drive. They didn't get out of bounds there. 24 seconds left. Going to spike it.
Is Baker still playing?
Yeah, they're at the Raider 23-yard line. Spike it. 15 seconds left. They need a touchdown to win 16-10 right now.
You're a minute ahead of me. They're running down the field with 1 minute and 6 seconds left right now. The guy just made a great catch. So don't spoil it for me, but I'm still a big Baker guy. I'm on the Baker train.
I have never in my life hated Baker.
Me either. I've always liked him, supported him, and I still think he has that ability to be good. Like last year, he was injured, and this year there's been a lot of weird things happen for him. One, he played for a bad team, but I'm still a believer in him. So if he has success with the Rams, who knows about Matt Stafford's future? He may be dead, but he. Well, I get.
Holy shit! I'm sorry, Luke, but oh my goodness.
So much for the not spoiling it.
Wow.
Oh, man.
The face of LA.
Nice.
You'll see it here in a second. Oh, my gosh. Wow.
Giga Chad Baker.
I'm waiting for you to see it. Tell me when you see it, man.
I'm a whole minute behind, so we can start talking about another game if you want. That was a great catch by the receiver, though.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the way that they just fired him the next day, John Robinson, I think is his name, the former Titans GM. I think, they factored in the fact that A.J. Brown just killed us. And, in terms of morale,
and Jefferson,
we're just done. So we're done, John. And I think that's what happened. But, yeah. Oh, my gosh. I can't believe that. I'm just going to say it now. Baker to Allen Robinson.
That was the exact same thing that happened to the Buccaneers and Saints on Monday night. That was deja vu. It was the same score, and
it is going to be the same
team with 3 points went down and scored 2 late touchdowns.
Gay.
Wow. How about that?
Extra
literally deja vu of the Monday Night Football game. And also, that's just another Josh McDaniels disaster class. So,
yeah. I don't know. That might be a Baker Mayfield masterclass rather than a disaster class.
That was amazing, though.
That is awesome. Was amazing. I'm happy for him, man. That is an incredible story. He just got
it is
the playbook like 48 hours ago. Less than 48 hours ago.
I doubt he even got the playbook. They probably just went out there and like, hey, just play football.
They were talking our ears off about it earlier tonight. All the stuff that he's already learned, it's on his wristband. Oh my God, he just headbutted him without a helmet on.
That's his new thing, I feel like. That's amazing though. We're a Baker pod, Baker Mayfield pod. Enthusiasts. So hey, we're happy for him. Now, the one team that I wouldn't want to see him have success with is the Rams, just because I hate the Rams.
I was literally just about to say that. Man, I feel happy for him, but goddamn, I hate the Rams. I really do, but wow. That's incredible. That is a really good story. And that just probably ended. I mean, that's it for the Raiders, I think.
They're dead. They're completely dead. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, yeah, but
Baker Mayfield just killed the Raiders.
They were alive until that moment, so I don't know, but
weird.
Okay, getting right,
let's get back to the
little off track here. Let's see here.
Amazing.
Your Packers.
Another game that we have to talk about. No, we don't have to talk about the Packers. I could just say this: it's really cool to be the winningest team in NFL history, but doesn't really mean anything. Like it was an interesting game. Like the Bears got out big to start off, and I was like, "Oh, let's go! We're gonna lose, keep getting our draft pick." But Aaron Rodgers just refuses to lose to the Bears. So, and then he howled Hitler, I guess, after the 2-point conversion at the end of the game. He full on just saluted, and some of the angles was just really funny. But and he also gave like a really close to retirement speech at the end of the game, so I'm a little bit nervous for that, but that's all I have to say on that. But there's one game that we have to talk about. As you said last week, NFL history is being made in this game. This is a precedent that is being set. Deshaun Watson coming back, playing in the midst. He has sexual assault cases pending right now, and he is playing in the NFL. That is just wild to me to just think about that. But I didn't see. I assume that the Houston fans probably booed him when he walked in.
So I had my eye on this one. I did have my eye on it, but they really weren't showing it a whole lot because it was a bad game. So Houston really didn't boo him that much. And I think they were expecting this to be a boo fest for him. And I don't know if Texans fans just really didn't really care or what. And no, so, I don't know. Does this make Houston a bad sports town too? There was guys in the stands, Texans fans with Watson jerseys on. I don't know what to make of that. That is just, and it's not that is completely the sexual whatever assault things aside. Not sexual assault, whatever his charges is.
Whatever he did.
Yeah. How do you wear your former quarterback's jersey who left you? He left them in hell too, Luke. He left them in hell. 2 years. Or I guess just 1 year where he didn't play. But still, one full season where he did not do anything with the Texans. And then this year, you could count that as another year where he just left them in the dust. And they just have been abysmal. But then again, you could also look at it and say Deshaun Watson has given the Texans Bryce Young. So,
or CJ Stroud. They seem to be interested in Mr. Stroud.
Yeah, they really are interested in Stroud. What? That's once again just another college football topic, but whatever. Yeah, I mean, he did not look very good. He just looked really rusty. I mean, you could clearly tell he's an NFL quarterback that has elite talent still, but he was rusty. They didn't score an offensive touchdown. The defense and the special teams scored 3 touchdowns, and Cade York kicked 2 field goals. Davis Mills, not it.
Carried hard. And you made a comment earlier about Houston being a bad sports town, and just simply based off the fact of how much they accepted the Astros cheating scandal, I am going to agree with you that they're a bad sports town, that they just kind of let that slide over and still support their guys, which, I mean, what are you supposed to do? But it's a tough situation.
Yeah, I don't know what angle you take as a fan in terms of the Astros thing. I mean, if I get it, like, we've gone through this ourselves, Luke, when the Rams left, you can completely ditch your team. I hate the Rams, but, if the Cardinals got caught up in a huge cheating scandal, I would be upset, but I'm not ditching the Cardinals, I'm not I would disavow what they did, but, I'm still going to wear my Cardinals hat and Goldschmidt jersey, I'm not going to hate them, but yeah, so I understand.
I'm not saying that. I was just, it's a weird, but they're definitely a weird town. They're a one of a kind sports town, and I don't even know how to. They're like Philadelphia. I obviously not I'm talking about in the one of a kind sports town type of. That's what I meant when I was comparing them to Philadelphia. It's very weird, but yeah, this game it set a precedent that quarterbacks who sexually assault multiple women and take almost 2 years off of football. The first game when they come back against their former team, they usually don't play very good. So the next time that happens, we can be prepared to pick accordingly. So, but the Texans are just god awful. And just a fun note about the Texans, they're playing the Cowboys this week, and the Cowboys are favored by 18 points. It's the biggest spread I've seen in my life.
Yeah, usually, Luke, usually I would say something along the lines of, these guys get paid to play football too. I'm not saying that. I'm just not saying it. I think the Cowboys might double that cover. So they literally might win by 36. So that is, I used to actually look forward to that game, and we're not from Texas. I used to just look forward to, back in the day, Andre Johnson versus Des Bryant, back when that was going on, just good football game to watch back in the day, those two teams, but not right now. That is Cowboys. You'll see that in the picks, but yeah, Houston is not looking good, and Cleveland's offense has got some work to do with their quarterback.
Yep, for sure. He'll get back on. They get the win, though. That's all that matters. And other than that, I think we recapped everything else pretty well in the recap.
The only thing I would have to note is that the Minnesota game, Mike White, people were trashing him for throwing 2 picks, but really the last pick was just trying to make something happen. He had the game-winning touchdown dropped by Braxton Berrios, who is usually decently sure-handed, and it was a catch he should have made in the end zone. Sliding kind of catch to avoid contact, and he dropped it. And honestly, Mike White, the locker room is behind him, and if I were them, I would keep rolling with him for a little bit longer until you have to make a change, because he's not playing bad. I'm not saying he's playing great. I'm not even saying he's playing good, but he's playing like a few notches below good. And in his first start, he played good, but that game was not great by him. But still, he had a minute, and like I said, they should have won that game. But I think this is going to help the Vikings, even if I think it might help them in the playoffs, but it's also going to help them here down the stretch trying to secure a high seed in the playoffs. They just, they have this factor that I always tell you, Luke, the Falcons don't have, and the Lions definitely don't have. They know how to win football games. They know how to win it when the going gets tough and it's close and shit's hitting the fan. They know how to win football games. Okay. That's pretty good value for them. So
I don't know what to say to that. Not historically a team that can win. They have no Super Bowl.
No, you're exactly right. But new season, I'm not saying I would not drop a take and say that I don't think the Vikings are. I don't even think they're Super Bowl contenders, but I definitely think they can win a game, possibly 2 in the playoffs. And that second game that they could win in the playoffs would probably be, some late scrappy win. Who knows? But beating the Jets is a good win, even with Mike White as their quarterback, I think. So, yeah, good slate.
I didn't realize how short Ryan Fitzpatrick is.
How short is he?
Him standing next to Andrew Whitworth and Tony Gonzalez. And Richard Sherman, he's just short.
You just named off like 3 guys that are like 6'3" and 4 and above. So I'm going to look up.
Yeah. I mean, he even looks short next to Carissa Thompson, though. No offense, but females are shorter than males. It's just
he's 6'2".
Statistic, scientific fact.
He is 6'2".
Okay. Well, he's taller than me.
Yes, he is.
I'm done talking now. He's not short at all.
When you meant that you really named off Andrew Whitworth. Andrew Whitworth is a giant. So yeah, he's shorter.
It's an offensive tackle.
He's 6'7". So.
All right.
Now I'll tell you what, too. When guys have pads on, when Andrew Whitworth has on pads, he probably looks like he's 6'11". Like standing next to Ryan Jostis, Mark Hensley, Trevor Burr in the huddle, Ryan Horskamp. When those guys have on pads on, they're all, Ryan's like 6'5", 6'6", I swear. But the other guys, even though they're like around 6'3", 6'4", in the huddle, I swear to God, they're 6'8" with the helmet and cleats on and pads. They are gigantic. So tall folks.
That makes sense. All right, you want to get to our fantasy corner? Try to do it as quickly as possible, I guess, here.
Sounds good.
Very busy show, but we do have a question. You want to read the question?
I don't have the question.
Okay, I'll find it real quick. I don't have it on hand. I come unprepared for this type of thing. Okay, so the question is from Garrett Newhouse, and he says, if the Cardinals don't make any other big moves, are they better than they were last year? And then that was one question, and then he continues, it would seem Contreras would only be taking the place of Albert, although I believe Albert actually had better numbers but didn't play much defense. And it's an interesting way to phrase the question because he's actually replacing Yadi, but I guess as terms of like a bat in the lineup, that is kind of the spot he's replacing. He's because Goldie and Arenado are there. Edman and Donovan are there. He's kind of the guy that is going to come in, be a big bat, kind of be the RBI guy. So as far as bat in the lineup, he's definitely not replacing Yadi because he's significantly better than Yadi at hitting. But I'll go back to the question part of it. So are they really better than they are last year? I'm going to say no. And for that exact reason is that Contreras and Yadi are very similar defensively. Yadi's obviously better at framing and just durability. Yadi just owns Contreras in that. And then offensively, Contreras replacing Albert in the bat. So really, we're just replacing the guys who retired. Now we're replacing two guys with one guy. So it's kind of like an Ohtani situation. Like you get two players in one. Not really. No, Contreras is nowhere near Ohtani's level. That's not what I meant by that. But yeah, no, we're not really better than last year. Unless some of the young guys like take a step forward, like Yepes or Brendan Donovan. He had a great year, but man, he could be a beast if he had some power. Or even a guy like Nootbaar, who took a step forward last year, but if he could continue that this year,
not a very
it would
big
be amazing. One. Carlson needs to take a step forward. He needs to really badly. And yeah, I mean, some of the pitchers on the staff. So unless people take steps forward, no, we're not really any better. So that's why I'm hoping that we're still active in the trade market, which I imagine that Mo is, because usually this time of year he's asleep. But he just showed yesterday that he's not asleep. So he's obviously doing something. No.
Which good for him. I would have expected him to go into hibernation by now. I know you're flat out saying that we're not going to be better. And I think I would agree with that, but it's not in a way that we're getting worse. I'm saying I think that we're going to be about middle ground in terms of we're not going to get much better, but I don't think we're going to regress really either.
No,
I think we have a great mix of Arenado, Goldschmidt, they're probably not going to get better. And they might actually regress a little bit just due to age, but I think that some of our younger pieces will get better naturally through, natural progression, and those things will kind of even out a little bit. And, like you said, Contreras offensively is, going to have more production than Yadi would have had, and that Yadi did last year. Now, one crazy thing to think about is the fact that we're saying that we have to replace freaking Albert Pujols' offensive production. The fact that we even have to say that we have to replace that production, that is still insane. I mean, the fact that he had that...
You're replacing Albert's production with an all-star player.
Yes. Yeah. And he may not even be able to do it. I mean, I still can't believe how insane of a run that was for Albert towards the back end of the season. I mean, a magical run there. So, yeah, I'm not.
I wish he came back for one more year.
I'm fine that he didn't. If he would have been stuck at 699, I would have said come back and hit that last one.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, my take is I'm not saying that we're worse. I'm not saying that we're exactly better. But that is still it's still up for debate because the offseason's not over. I know you said that we're probably done unless we add something minute, but who knows? So as of right now, I think this is a positive actually when you think about it, Luke, because before this signing, we were probably looked at, if you asked me this question before this signing, would you agree that we were actually worse than last year? So until this signing, we're at least back to middle ground. So
I would agree with that. That was all I had prepared for the question. So,
yep,
I just kind of answer them on the spot. like how I feel just in the moment. So
Yeah, only one this
I don't
week.
really prepare for that.
But we still have our stardom sleeper and our situm.
So thank you, Garrett, for the question.
Thank you,
Much
Garrett.
appreciated. We love the fan interaction, and we've had at least one question on every single week, so that's really cool to see.
All right. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I got them. I'm always confused. Do we go all three of them first? Like I say all three.
But we can mix it up if you want. You want to go all three, or do you want to mix it up?
No, I can go all three. I just forget how we do it.
All right.
I like precedent. We already set a precedent. I sometimes forget about it.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
All right. So my stardom is the winter meetings. So the winter meetings have kind of been dead for the past few years. Like it's kind of just where like the baseball executives and media, like they all meet in this big hotel. I think in New York City. I don't know for sure. I think it's New York City, but it's a big hotel and they just meet there for like a week. And the last few years, it's kind of been dead. This year, obviously, we talked about it with the free agency and some of the trades that are happening. Very much alive. So definitely start the winter meetings. And also a bonus start. Hopefully I'm not taking yours, but just the Colorado football team and not the Denver Broncos, not that Colorado football team. We're sitting that. Colorado Buffaloes hiring Deion Sanders. So he's coming home. Very, very cool thing to see that. I'm excited to see what happens at Colorado. And then my situm is Balenciaga. I don't know if you saw this, Cam, but some of the ads that they were putting out, I'm sure you've seen it by now, but it is wild some of what they were doing. Like I heard some people talking about it and I was like, oh, surely it can't be that bad. And I looked it up.
What is a Balenciaga?
Balenciaga? It's like
what is Balenciaga?
I think it's a clothing brand. I think they maybe have some like purses, maybe.
I'll be honest, Luke. I'm not disagreeing with your situm here, but I have no idea what a Balenciaga is.
Balenciaga. Okay, so it's a brand. I guess I'm seeing a lot of shoes. Balenciaga.com. Let's just see what they have. Okay, so they have men's and women's clothes. I guess it's Adidas. I guess they're a partner with Adidas, maybe.
Okay, so why are we sitting them?
Well, I don't know if you saw the ads that they put out, but they were trying to promote like I don't even know how to say this, but like you know how some people have weird kinks? Like like when you get tied up and stuff, like some people like that. Very weird. Okay. Basically, they were trying to promote. They were trying to sell some of this stuff from their brand, right? So they have to promote it somehow. How do you think they promoted it, Cam? Do you have any guesses?
Live showing it off?
No. I'm gonna tell you how they did it, and this thing probably didn't even cross your mind. They promoted it using like 5-year-old children,
tying them up.
No, but they were like holding the stuff, and I guess you'll have to look it up yourself. And if the viewers, if you guys have any interest in looking it up, then you can. But it's pretty wild. And so I'm just here to say we disavow, and we will no longer be buying anything from Balenciaga. Not like we ever have anyway.
You can count on me, Luke. From here on out, I'll tell you this, Luke. I will not buy a single Balenciaga Christmas gift for me or anybody else out there. And I'll take that one step further. I will not buy anything Balenciaga in 2023, even though I was planning to. But not anymore. Not anymore.
Okay. I respect that. I'm protesting indefinitely.
I'm out.
So I'm protesting indefinitely. And definitely, most definitely sitting them. And if there was an option to cut and drop, that's what I would do to Balenciaga. That's how done with them I am. So very wild scenario there. And then my sleeper is Christmas music. So we're in the time of the year where, like you go out in public and you just hear Christmas music. I mean, it's all over the place, and I'm really getting into Christmas music this year. I like, there's some years I get into the Christmas lights. Some years I get into like Christmas cookies, and this year the Christmas thing I'm getting into is the music. So, and it's not like the weird songs. I'm getting into like the classic versions, like Frank Sinatra, like Gene
Like Baby
Autry,
It's Cold Outside, a Luke favorite.
Yeah. Well, I do like Michael Bublé. His Christmas album is very good. And also I put him as my sleeper because I've started listening to Christmas music when I go to sleep. So it's very peaceful to me. It makes me happy, and I don't know. Some of the old songs are just so calm.
This may have been a sleeper for you, but I've been starting Christmas music since before Thanksgiving in my car. So
okay,
I was early on Christmas music. I was woke.
I like Christmas music. It's very happy. It makes me joyful, I guess.
It's not bad.
And then another sleeper is my sleeper from last week, DJ Moore. He's actually playing this week. The team's not on a bye, so start him. He's a sleeper. Another bonus.
Okay.
All right, what are yours, Cam?
What are mine? Well, let's take a look. Oh, all right. My stardom is Desmond Ridder. They're finally giving the young blood a shot, Luke. So, Luke Fickell, he might be Wisconsin's coach, but was deemed the quarterback whisperer. We'll see, because now we get to see Desmond Ridder, first real NFL, like, actual game, not preseason action. He was pretty solid during the preseason. I remember talking about him during the preseason. But yeah, stardom is Desmond Ridder. They're finally giving him a shot. We'll see how it goes. And Luke, my situm is simply Odell Beckham Jr.'s knee. Lots of news lately, especially today, coming out that even going back to last year, that Odell Beckham Jr.'s knee, the Rams didn't sign him till November due to the fact that his physical on his knee was so bad that they were so worried that it was just going to explode on the football field. That's going to be the thumbnail. That they were so worried that it was going to explode on the football field. And they're right. It did explode on the football field during the Super Bowl, his knee. The reason why this is all relevant is he's actually almost done with his recovery time. And we're looking at the Cowboys, who are possibly looking at signing him. But the physicals have come back not good again on his knee, to where, one, it looks like it could collapse at any moment, and two, he's not going to be good for at least another 5 weeks, which would mean his first game action would be during the wild card weekend of the playoffs. So I'm sitting Odell's knee. I just don't think he probably doesn't even need to play this year. So I'm going to sit Odell's knee. And my sleeper, Luke, is Victor Bout, the Merchant of Death. So may have been sleeping on him for a while because he has been in prison for 25 years. But I'm going to put him as my sleeper now because he's probably going to get back to work. And Russia needs an arms dealer in terms of what's going on with Ukraine and stuff, and they're probably going to revive his career. So possible stardom here in the future, but my sleeper is Victor Bout. In fact, he's already back on the Pentagon's watch list. So yeah, that is my sleeper, is Victor Bout, the Merchant of Death.
Yeah.
Pretty cool nickname, honestly. But
very, very wild. Yeah, it's a very cool nickname. I respect it. But the fact that we traded him for a WNBA player, and we didn't even get our Marine, like the Marine that's over there, we didn't even get him in the deal either. So I I don't know what the Biden administration, their negotiation tactics is, but they need to take lessons from John Mozeliak.
Fleece.
Unless John Mozeliak's been helping the Russian government, but we don't know. Maybe they took lessons from him. So
yeah,
we got
a wild situation. Such a wild situation. The memes on Twitter are insane about this trade going down.
It's a great time.
And I don't know if you've seen the video yet, but it's kind of eerie. Like it looks like something out of like Grand Theft Auto, where they both, they get off the plane and Russia has Brittany Griner and security following her. And then the U.S. literally just has Victor Bout and security follow them. And then they just like do a trade in between. And then they get on their respective planes and that's it. I mean, wild, just wild. But I mean, I think they tried to bring home the Marine. I think we tried to get a 2-for-1 deal. I guess we weren't willing to throw in any draft capital. And that was it. We only got, it was pretty much just a player swap. So, personally, if you had to ask me, I would say that Russia probably won this deal, and that's what also, that's kind of, that's why he's my sleeper. I mean, he has potential for a really big boom. So towards the end of the season here. So yes, that is, it's time sleeper.
All right.
That's the fantasy.
That's our fantasy corner. So I guess now we'll get into picks for week 14, and we'll try to run through this quickly because I got to go do something after this. So, Cam, it's your week to pick. We're starting off 0-1 with the Raiders, losing to the Rams, obviously, this week.
I don't feel
I'll just kind of have you.
I mean, yeah. 1-point loss. I mean, I picked the Raiders here. They've been playing good as of late, and I thought even if Baker Mayfield played, that only having the playbook for like 36 hours wasn't going to be enough. But hey, 230 pass yards, passing touchdown, 22 of 35, not bad for him. And the game-winning drive. So they went 98 yards in 1:45 to win that game. Pretty crazy. Same score as Monday Night Football, as Luke pointed out, 17-16 final in LA. Started off week 14, but yeah, 0-1. So we'll get to the real picks.
I'll kind of just have you. I kind of just have you read through them like quickly and just give your picks. And if I'll veto, I'll chime in.
Okay, I do have one for sure that I'll definitely need some input. But New York Jets at Buffalo. Buffalo, especially, I think the Jets are kind of falling a little bit. But you could see a Mike White masterclass, so we'll see. But for now, I have Buffalo. Cleveland at Cincinnati. I hate both these teams so goddamn much, but I probably hate Cincinnati a little bit less right now. So I'm taking Cincinnati. Houston at Dallas. We talked about this a little bit earlier. I'm going to take Dallas. And I think they might double the cover of 18, obviously, even though those guys get paid to play. But I don't know. Minnesota at Detroit, Luke. This one I need you to turn your listening ears on. Minnesota at Detroit. I'm taking Detroit. Thoughts?
I completely agree.
You completely okay?
Because I remember last week whenever I said, "Hey, the Lions, anything can happen at Detroit when the Vikings play the Lions," and you looked at me like I was stupid. And now Vegas has the Lions favored -2, and this is why I'm going with them. It's a trap game, right? Lions are favored -2 against the 10-2 Vikings. That doesn't make any sense, right? We saw that a few weeks ago with the Vikings. Oh, they're +1 at home. Really? Got blown out. This is a trap game. I agree with you completely.
Okay.
Lions.
I'm not even sure if I agree with myself, especially since I just went on that whole spiel about how they know how to win football games. But and I have to start Jared Goff this week because Lamar's on the bye, or not on the bye. He's hurt, and Justin Fields is dead because he's on the bye. I guess he's not dead, but Jacksonville at Tennessee. I'm going with a Tennessee rebound game, even though Jacksonville is also looking for a rebound. Tennessee at home. Philadelphia at the New York Football Giants. I'm going to go with the Eagles because Saquon has a neck injury and he's probably not going to play. So I'm going to go with the Eagles there. And the Giants are also sliding a bit. Here's one, Luke. Baltimore at Pittsburgh. I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh at home. They're getting a little bit. They're kind of hot right now. As hot as that offense with Matt Canada, the terrorist, guiding them can be, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, they have to start Tyler Huntley, and TJ Watt's going to be chasing them around. So I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. Kansas City at Denver. I'm going with Kansas City. Although I think this will actually be a close game. And I know that sounds crazy, but Denver just plays in close games, especially at home, just because of how good their defense is. And Russell Wilson will lead them down the field to about 3 field goals. So probably final score of probably like 20-9, something like that. Tampa Bay at San Francisco. I said San Francisco, and because I said that because it sounds like the smart pick, but Tom Brady, they're 6-6. They just had that awesome comeback win. Their offense was horrible in the first 3 quarters, like I said. Shout out to Jesus, but they were awful the first 3 quarters. But they had that resurgence. But San Francisco's defense has been insane. But it's also Brock Purdy against the Tampa Bay defense. You know, I just don't really know what to do here. I'm taking San Fran, though.
I think you reluctantly take that, and I agree.
I think it is complete reluctance because there's no reason. Even after last week, that's not even a valid reason to be like, yeah, Brock Purdy is going to be fine against Tampa Bay's defense. And I don't think he's going to be fine. I think this could get really gross, Luke. I think we might be looking at like a 13-9 type of game. And they actually do score a touchdown, the Buccaneers, but they missed the extra point. So 13-9 is my prediction for that one. Just weird. But yeah, let's go with San Francisco reluctantly. Carolina at Seattle. I think this is going to be another gross game as well, but I'm going to take Seattle. I think this will also be a close game, just out of spite. That's what the Panthers do sometimes, is they just have close games out of spite. So Seattle is the pick, though. They're at home, and Geno had a good end of the game last week. So this is a good game. Miami at LA Chargers on Sunday Night Football. I'm taking Miami. I'm assuming they're staying out west because they've had to play on California 2 weeks in a row. Chargers lost again last week. They're 500. Miami did not have a good defensive performance last week, and I guess you have Tua's ankle to take into account, but I'm still going to take Miami. But if the Chargers win this game, then maybe they are a team that you can trust when they're at home, despite Jacksonville. So yeah, Miami. Any thoughts on that pick? Miami and the Chargers, because it is kind of a toss-up.
I like it. It is a toss-up, but it's going to be a fun Sunday night game.
Yeah, I think it is. That is a good matchup.
Yeah, and the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football doesn't happen very often, but it is fun when it does. And then to cap off the week, we have Patriots at Cardinals, kind of an ugly game.
Yep. I'm taking New England. And this might be the curtain call for Cliff. I don't know for sure. Yeah. I don't know if they plan on firing him or not during the season or wait till Black Monday, but this might be my vote for this is it for Cliff. And I'm just taking New England because what has Arizona shown us, Luke? I mean, seriously, they haven't won in forever.
This is going to be a good defensive performance by the Patriots, I feel like.
I hope so. I'm going to start him this week. So Kyler has his chance, though, to prove something because this is a solid New England defense. But I'm not saying the slate is bad this week, but I'm saying that the slate is filled with defensive matchups. I will say that. Like, this is another game that I'm looking at, and this is just I don't think this is going to be very high scoring. What points to this being high scoring? So I am going to take New England. So I'll read off the picks again. 0 vetoes this week.
Did you no vetoes? And then did you pick between the Eagles and Giants?
Yeah, I did. I took
sleeping.
I took the Eagles.
Okay. I must have been sleeping. All right.
So Las Vegas, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Dallas, Detroit, Tennessee, Eagles, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, San Fran, Seattle, Miami, New England. Let's count how many road teams we got this week. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. We picked 5, but Las Vegas already lost, so we got 4. We got 4. That's not bad. Only I don't even know if there's 13 games. I don't know how many games, but there's quite a few teams on the bye this week. Your Packers, the Bears,
Falcons, Commanders, Bears,
yeah,
Colts.
Commanders, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I think and there's one other team I can't think of right now, but yeah, it's going to be an interesting week for sure, and then we'll gear up for the Final Four, the final push of the year. And that's about it for episode 41 here. Decently sized episode. So we'll be back next week. We'll be done with school. Oh,
one thing I would like to bring up, and I would like you to tell it before we get off the air here. The Sunday night Newhouse Miracle.
Oh, yeah.
There was a fantasy miracle that took place on Sunday night.
I'll tell it quickly because I gotta get out of here and leave. But basically, I was down 10 points. I was dead on Sunday Night Football. All I had was the Dallas defense, and the opponent I had Jonathan Taylor. I was down by 10 points, and then just all of a sudden, they get some touchdowns, they get some turnovers, and miraculously, the first week I have Jimmy G on my team, I have a miraculous win. So it was very cool. It was freaking out in the moment, but it was a very cool scene. But yeah, it's gonna end it for episode 41. So we'll see you guys next week. Get into the Christmas spirit a little bit, and yeah, thanks for tuning in once again.
Have a good weekend.
Yeah.